And now we return to the second half of the fourth and final class on points and principles of Brahman at the cosmic level. But we will probably in the future have another series of classes on this subject so that we can go through collective and individual mind. And so we have pretty much taken samsara to task in this class. And we've also then looked at the prana, how it pervades everything. It's something that you find it's a hard time finding any of that in scriptures and teachers to talk about it even. But I've taken the cue from Swami Vivekananda's Raja Yoga commentary, the book Raja Yoga, and because he mentioned prana, a whole chapter on it, and then psychic prana. And therein he mentions how the Westerners, that's missing in their cosmology. Not that we have any cosmology that really covers very well inward life or spiritual life or kingdoms of heaven very well. Certainly not in science, which is kind of the religion of the Westerner now. So we go looking for it in India and we find plenty of traces, not even just traces, but whole systems of cosmology that really help us to get an internal life, or like Jesus said to the fishermen along the river, you need eternal life, not just relative life, family life, and so forth. So since we have access to that there, but then the underpinnings of it, or the connecting points, the linchpins as they call them, one of those is prana, and another side to that is psychic prana. What moves your thoughts? What moves your body? What moves your thoughts? And that's actually in the wrong direction. Should be what moves my body is my thoughts, and thoughts come first. So psychic prana would come before the gross prana, and probably the prana that you hear described in the Upanishad, where they're looking at eyes and ears, mind, and power of taste and touch and smell and all that as gods, as deities, are all operational due to the prana, the presence of the prana. So that would indicate a prana at a collective level. And I think there's another kind of prana listed in here as you go along that has to do with that can be looked at that time. So prana on all three levels, like the three worlds and the three states of mind. Now we have next on list, and to finish up the cosmic level of things, Omkara. Kara means cause, and Om, of course, is the primal unstruck sound, or the primal word, the word. So you put those two together, it's Om, this primal word, as the cause of everything, because Brahman can't be the cause of anything. So then it would be a part of cause and effect. So we always keep divine reality free of cause and effect, which is allocated to Maya. Time, space, and Nama-rupa, name, form, time, space, and cause and effect. So all of those, we pinion them or pigeonhole them in with the changing worlds of name and form, all coming under this threefold mind. Subtle causal actions, subtle actions, and then gross actions of all these different kinds of beings under the influence of the threefold mind. And when we then want to see a principle that even the Mahat would turn to at the end of long periods of time, called Mahayugas, or when Mahapralaya comes along at the end of extra long periods of time, everything goes back into formlessness, silence, and all into darkness, which is, in that case, to us, lovers of divine reality, Divine Mother is a radiant darkness, formlessness and full of bliss, and without divisions, boundless, so forth. And then everything comes forward again with the next march of phenomena, which is how I chanted at the beginning of this class. Yo Brahmanan Vidadati Purvam, Yo Vai Vedansya Prahinohi Tasmai. It's when the Trinity sprang forth from this formlessness and then was vouchsafed the four Vedas, which we saw on this chart we were just looking at. And everything began to happen in cycles, including rain and food, and all the way down to the physical level. All those beings, all those principles, tattvas, being gods and goddesses or powers of under the auspice of the Mahat. So if we wanted to look beyond the Mahat and get to a pivotal place between the great mind and Brahman, then the only other thing you could probably go to there, a go-to move at such a high philosophical level, would be Omkara, the word. And that's sixth chakra kind of speak in Kundalini, and that has two petals, one going into formlessness, the other coming back out into the world. So you can look in different systems of India and see the symbology to that particular center or chakra or vortex of spiritual energy, as if that were the bridge to immortality, as that chant said, into formlessness or taking form out of that. And that would be, of course, for very realized and highly conscious souls, because the ocean of samsara is dictating that beings are born in the lower three chakras. So, like the third chakra allocated to the navel and so forth, where pregnancy and birth and prana, the gross prana, is all fully operational, and billions of souls are being born through that realm. Actually, all souls form their bodies through that realm, but some are pinioned to the consciousness of that, limited to that realm, and others are coming from a higher state and choosing parents and there to do the work of spirituality and awakening of souls, fishers of men kind of idea. And then, the bodies are produced as a matter of course by the mind. Put that into abeyance, and or let it out of abeyance, as the case may be. So, identifying with higher chakras or higher levels of consciousness, or meditating on Brahman or the highest formlessness all your life, is going to help you, as the father of yoga states, build some scars for formlessness, and you're very well at ease and acclimatized to higher levels of consciousness. So teachings like this wouldn't even be necessary, and they'd be very familiar to you simultaneously. So all of that to sort of describe the nature of an illumined soul, which has been done in other Upanishads, like the Prajna Upanishad, where it describes what a soul like that really has as its powers, its higher powers, like the 6 powers of the Godhead and 13 characteristics of the Atman. And so that there you just go to a whole different level of consciousness, or beyond levels. And the only way to kind of infer that is by the 3 kinds of bondages that people are trapped by, and the 3 kinds of liberation they get free by. And so teachings like that, a part of the Dharma, are very valuable to us. So if you want to look towards an even more subtle, I would probably call it causal level of this ocean of consciousness, purer waters, clear and lucid and life-giving, spiritual life-giving, you'd want to look towards that principle called the word, or Omkara. We know that Jesus understood that, whether he just understood it naturally and spontaneously again, or whether he traveled to India and saw how well developed the teaching of the word is in India, and how very much in love, the Tantricists, the Vedantists, the yogis, were with the word, and how important it played a part in everything. The word and mantras and scriptures were all a part of higher intelligence that was associated with the word. Now, we looked at the sun god in the last half, and that's the word at its highest and deepest level. That's the sun of everything, is the word. S-U-N. It's radiating intelligent particles all the time. And we'll look at that 2 Sundays from now, if you come with us on the journey into the Upanishad again. We're probably 2/3 the way with that, through that Upanishad. So we'll take up a few more slokas at least, carry it on, because we've been restricted from going to the mainland and continuing to finish it these last 6 months. So when you say Omkara, I've probably got 5, 6, 7 very good charts on Om that I favor, all of them. I can't really decide which one I like best, but since we're talking about cosmic, collective, and individual, we're talking about transitional things, and involution, evolution, tattvas that need to be understood by souls who are embodied, particularly, and probably need to be revisited by souls who enter into form from formlessness. We know Sri Ramakrishna used to sit there and go into formlessness right in front of you. And he would come out of formlessness several hours later and couldn't recognize you, even if you were his wife or his favorite disciple. Who are you again? He'd come out, and it took him minutes to acclimatize, maybe longer, to this strange set of beings. He would say, "Mother, where have you brought me? Where have you brought me?" So, and sometimes, of course, he would come out immediately and spontaneously with full memory of everything. So you couldn't tell what that great soul was about to do. But if he got particularly deep and drunken, intoxicated by formlessness, then it was very hard for him to call his mind back to the levels of mind and the principles and the teachings. He used to put his hand, they'd give him a glass of water, and if he felt water and touched it, and he would mumble something like, "Oh, I see where I've come now." It means to the realm of the 5 elements. Because water to him could mean the ocean of consciousness, just as easily as it could mean a glass of water that you quench your thirst with. Because he had full awareness of all 7 worlds and the facility to transcend them at will in samadhi. He was a favorite of Mother Kali. She favored him highly, the songs sing, because he gave everything to her, bar none, not just 99%. He used to say, "I've given 120% to her." Now you try and give, 20, 30, 40, 50% to her. He's talking to the householders. Try and, eke out more consciousness and spiritual life and sadhana in your life, and maybe change the barometer a little bit here, so that life will get transformed into something divine, or dharmic at least. So when he came out of Om, or back into Om, he was doing that while he was in the body, like Jivan Mukta style. And he would become very intoxicated, and would take him a while to function and speak again. So the word, seeing the word and going through the word, passing into formlessness and back out of formlessness, would take away his usual facilities, and he'd have to then get them back. So I'm going on a little bit about that, because it's sort of, you'd have to imagine you coming out of deep sleep or dream and still being drowsy for a few minutes. So there's some people drowsy until they get their first cup of coffee or something. So the consciousness of a great soul like that, an avatar, a Paramahamsa, very non-dual in its nature already. So it's the opposite of people trying to ascend to freedom. He's coming out of freedom and trying to bind himself for your sake. See? And that's, we go back to Yagya. The great Adi Yagya is Krishna. It takes on the world, takes on the form. He's the pillar around everything, of which everything's rotating. Just like the sun's there and everything's rotating around it. You study the skies and the galaxy and the sun and the planets, that's the first thing you should think about, is a stationary pole called Brahman, about and an ocean of light out of which a pillar forms, out of which tattvas circulate around, and beings then occupy at different levels and scales of vibration. This is all going on in an eternal moment. Seems like time is passing, but when Sri Ramakrishna saw the word Om, he said, I saw everything coming in and out of it, but no time was passing. So he was in a timeless place in his consciousness, because there is no time in consciousness, higher consciousness. That comes about later, maybe 6 tattvas down from the 36 Shaiva tattvas. You finally find, oh, there's Kala. You see, oh, time's starting to happen. And that's time in its essence, not time in its 3 phases yet, which is much, much further out from the source, where people start dividing it into 3 phases, then later on into millennia, then into centuries, and then into days, and then into minutes and seconds and nano. They take time and just like do with it what they like. But up at that level where time is a cosmic principle, the consciousness of a great soul has beyond that tattva, and like Ishvara is much higher than Kala. And Kalas, time and its phases, hasn't kicked in yet. So it's a way of saying how consciousness, to use the best word probably we have in English, is in a transcendent position. Formlessness, transcendence, nirvikalpa. We have to go to Sanskrit. So all of this is a kind of introduction in this final half of this 4th class, where we will finish up the cosmic level of things, looking at Om as a cause. And even the Trinity is aware that somewhere behind it, at its back, is this word. The Trinity is going to be able to create, sustain, and destroy worlds in space and time by this power that's at its back. So prana is, has become one with it by then. Turned into psychic prana, turned into Shakti, and then all of a sudden Shiva and Shakti are there. So everything has been dissolved effectively, or is in a state of eternal moment, is a better way of saying that. So if the soul is witnessing that eternal moment, like Sri Ramakrishna did in his highest meditations, then when he comes out of that, he's got to get used to time again, get used to space, get used to forms. Just like if you had amnesia for a long time, you woke up in a hospital, your family was around you. Who are you again? See? And then maybe later that day you're beginning to remember, because your memory is surfacing. Oh, I think I know who you are. You're my mother. You see? So meanwhile, they're all freaking out. It's lost his memory. But you can't lose your memory. You just lose consciousness of it, awareness of it. And once you get used to the climes and times again, it comes dancing back. It'll do that when you're born as a baby, and you don't know anything. And then 4, 5, 6 years later, maybe it'll begin to come back, or if you're a Shankar, it'll come back, pow, like that. It won't take any time, because he wasn't really into time. I'm not waiting on time. Time's waiting on me. So the great soul is like that. So all of this is a preamble to, and maybe a good description of the para level of the word. Para means supreme. You see it there at the top. They put together the 4 phases of the word with the 4 phases of knowledge. And you could also probably call that the 4 phases of manifestation. Manifestation not only of a great soul taking on a form, but manifestation that form will water the seeds in unmanifested prakriti and make them manifest. Like each soul, each great soul particularly, is just creating anew everything. Like blazing a new path through a wilderness. And they'll do it with their own signature. with their own tools, and beings will become aware of them as they create it. Like 5 million people now worshiping Sri Ramakrishna. That was an old count, I think. So where was he all this time? He was creating a new path out into the worlds, all the way into the 7th world. That is the first world, so that people can become aware of him. And he did that all uniquely. His very own great path. So it's like a comet coming out of the sky. And you just don't know it yet. Hits an ocean and causes a huge eruption there. Changes the face of the earth. So that comet is a great soul coming out of Om. Om is the biggest black hole you ever imagined, and it's not even a physical black hole. And out of it comes these great souls blazing themselves onto the level of cosmic mind. What's here in this age for me to use? I'm going to fish the ocean of consciousness. For just 1 or 2 souls? No, I think I'll take 5 million with me this time. This age needs it. So you think that all happened in just since 1836 when Sri Ramakrishna came on the scene and left in 1886, and it was 50 years life, and since then 5 million people has come. That's Omkara right there, timeless awareness, they call it. Birthless, deathless, timeless awareness. And that soul is already there. It's burning through the misconceptions, misnomers, limitations, and restrictions that are impeding other people who believe in time, believe strongly in time. They're not even beginning to think yet that time might be an illusion, and death an illusion. I have received an order from the Divine Mother that death and time must die. I must put death in its own grave. I must turn time into timelessness. That's the truth of the matter. So that's para. That's the word at its ultimate or supreme stage. It's beyond stages, really. So in there, it's paravak is the level of wisdom. That's supreme speech. It's the essence of Shabda. And you're understanding the words I'm saying right now because of it. If it wasn't that, you wouldn't be understanding anything I'm saying right now. I'd be speaking Greek. So that power of intelligence that's in every word, in every letter, and even inside of the seed of letters, alphabets, how many hundreds of alphabets there are, or last count 50-some different alphabets. So basically, how many types of ways can the word figure out to explain to how many different kinds of people who are having dreams in the 7 worlds? And how many different kinds of languages are there to express that? All coming from this singular principle called Omkara. It's the cause of everything. And it itself is an unstruck sound, yet it's striking itself all the time. Great souls uttering it once will disappear into it. You could sing something like that. Shri Krishna Vishnu, Shri Krishna Vishnu Made Kata Bade Bhakta Anukampam Bhagavan Murare Trayasvamam Keshava Lokanata Govinda Damodara Madhaveti Mandara Mule Vadana Biramam Bimbadara Purita vedunadam Gopa Gopi Jana Maja Samstam Govinda Damodara Madhaveti Om Damodara Damodara Jaya Damodara Om Damodara Damodara Jaya Damodara Damodara. Behold, the emanation of the Word, the incarnation, the Supreme Lord, who is the eternal fount of compassion for all devout souls, who annihilates all the many negative forces arrayed against divinities, who is the Lord of the universe. May He protect us always. So, a hymn to the baby Krishna, Damodara, always starts every verse with Om. Like Om Namah Shivaya, or Om Manapemi Hum, or Om Hring Ritang. Remember we sing that? Dhamachalo Gunajit Guneja Naktang Divam Sakaranam Tava Padapadmam. Swami Vivekananda wrote that hymn to Sri Ramakrishna. It starts with the word Om again. So you can sing, and they do sing about this, even at the highest level, paravak, the essence of sound. Sometimes they call that formless form, and that's where the Ishvari would become involved. She's formless form, like Mother Kali. And that stage is called Purnahanta. Purna is that word that means full. I am full, I am full. So the word plays an extremely important part of this. This is, almost like Srishti Rahasya of the Tantra. This is the Srishti Rahasya of Vedanta. Is this level of 4 different kinds of knowledge with 4 phases of the word. The first, para, not even being a phase at all, it's just reality, divine reality, as it is, an untouched ocean, no waves, boundless, no boundaries, no forms, and vibrating with Satchidananda, pure existence, knowledge, and bliss. So, what does it cause? If it just sits there and does nothing? Well, when Shakti comes involved with us, we are looking at through the tantric way, then the static, the stationary, and the imperishable, will turn into what's potential manifestation. The pure vibration is called pashanti, and that's where we can actually assign a word to it, transcendence. We can't really say Brahman is transcendent in terms of a teaching like this. You have to say transcendence as a very idea begins at the second phase of the word. It can't describe or in any way communicate to us what para is, what the supreme state is. So transcendence there is intelligence at the plane of pure ideas. They call that, instead of paravak, now it's pashanta, pashantivak, undifferentiated unity. So how to say it would be like seeing the pie whole. See? The pumpkin pie there hasn't been touched. So that's wholeness and completeness, undifferentiated unity. Nothing hasn't been touched yet. So then par would be beyond the pie, before the pie was even baked. See? It wasn't even an idea yet in anyone's mind. As I grasp for ways to try and use metaphors for what's beyond form and formlessness. That's why they're calling it here formless form. So Pashantivaka is that second level of this word and stage of knowledge. So intelligence is beginning to insinuate itself into form at that time. Again, if you can think back or compare this back to Shishti, Rahasya of the Tantric system, you can make correlations that are helpful. There you see under Pashanti, Shabda or Svota, subtle sound Shakti force. And you can see how a dotted line is drawn from there that does not include para in it, that it begins a kind of three-world process, or three-level triputi again, in which things will come out of this transcendent, formless place, but it's got potential in it, whereas para, has no potential. It's like Shiva, Paramashiva, before Shakti approaches it. So now it's got the potential in it, and that utmost potential is called cosmic buddhi, if you want, or pure intelligence. You can see an Om sign with dots there. Those dots are like seeds. So you could say, very sentient principle that all things, all beings come out of it. But with the seeds, you have to include unmanifested prakriti in there. So we're talking and singing about Purusha and Prakriti. Wherever Purusha goes, it carries Prakriti with it to pave its way into form. Just another way of saying tattvas. They're all there in potential, in unmanifested Prakriti. I think I'll water a few. And the first utterance I'm going to do is Om. And probably the second is Svaha or Swadha. Let's make it all auspicious. So these are all words of power, bijams. Om itself is waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and transcendence, called Turiya. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, and Turiya in Advaita Sanskrit. So the very form itself of the formless unstruck sound, is saying all of this is potential in me and it will soon happen. But don't close your eyes to the fact that it's eternal. Everything that happens is eternal. It's beginning, middle, and endless. It's just going to appear to you now like it's got beginnings, middles, and endings. So people living life on earth should be thinking that about their waking, dreaming, and deep sleep states. First of all, they should think it's cyclic. Second of all, they should think it's a dream. That is, if you're trying to awaken from bondage into liberation, then that would be the way in which you do it. The seers, of course, already liberated, thinking it's a dream, then it's in cycles. Whatever the case may be, great thinkers have seen the process and come up with systems like these and bring them back from age to age. Yuge cha dharmasha, Krishna says in the Gita. From age to age I embody myself forth for the good of all beings, destruction of the wicked, and for the destruction of the old Dharma and resurrection of the new Dharma. That is, the old Dharma has become out of date with the people of the time. So it's going to bring back the new dispensation. That's how we 5 million who follow Sri Ramakrishna call this new dispensation of the Dharma. That it's got a facelift, a remake, a freshening, you see. And all the concepts and all the teachings and the Dharma and the Jnanam all around it is also going to breathe free and breathe freshly. And people are going to be talking about it again and using it to liberate themselves. And to wake up and never fall asleep again. Never forget again. Find themselves on the wheel of samsara saying, what happened? So I think of the what, where, when, why, and who, right? There's even worse than that. There's when. That's waking up on the ocean of on the wheel of samskara. Being born there. When. It's like, you got it all wrong, kid. You're in for another birth in ignorance, suffering. So maybe we'll put that here somewhere, another dot, wah. Part of the bijams of, and put it down here where beings are enjoying suffering. So potential for vibration, pure vibration is there. Madhyama is always a word, of course, in several different systems, even in Buddhism, Madhyamaka and so forth, which really means a kind of middle way or a middling level of things. And here we're using it as the third stage of the word, and that's where the word becomes Madhyama Vak, differentiated unity. That is, it probably can't be denied by the person with their third eye open that's beginning to go south. It's beginning to break up, but they still see the unity in it all. See? It's about to play itself out into far-flung particles, eventually become atoms. You see? And we're even going to lose track of that until 1900s. You see? That there's such a thing as particles and objects, what they're really made out of. So the whole thing is just being wool pulled over our eyes again and again, that we never wake up to the real fact of things, that even matter is divine, even matter is the word. So thought vibration is on the march as concepts. Now, this is where concepts come from. They're just very distant at Pashanti phase. They're not even congealing anything yet. It's just that what if I kind of thing. You see, you could probably make some nice mantras in English for that. Nothing is. What if there was? You see, and all of a sudden, well, I think it can be done. Then, oh, I won't say the word. It's another bijam a lot of people use nowadays, if you know what I mean. I'll just say crap. You see, oh crap, look what happened. See. So, nicely explained in the teachings, concept, thought, sound, and meaning start to conjoin. So it means that before that, up here where everything was undifferentiated unity, it was all together, but the thought, the possibility of it breaking into waves, like an ocean with no wind, and then all of a sudden a wind begins to happen here. So it's still random, kind of. It's still like, how do I bring that together? Sort of like most of your meditations. You start out doing the mantra, and 12 repetitions later, you forgot to concentrate on it. By the time 54 runs around, you catch yourself. You say, oh, I should be concentrating on my ishtam, you see. And then try and keep your consciousness together from 54 to 108. See. So people's meditations are that. And what did I think about doing that 108 repetitions of the Divine Mother's name? Go make a list. You see, inside of 5 minutes, saying Om Namah Shivaya and, how many things did I think about other than Om Namah Shivaya there? Let's make a list. So sort of like that, it's all kind of not, it's floating there. You're coming to some of it, and then you're not, you see. The cosmic mind knows what it's doing, but the cosmic mind is being taken by different colors of the rainbow. The crystals, the mind and colors are beginning to be shown through it, and that's people are going to take that and turn it into different things. With the power of languages and power of meditation, power of projection, power of thought and thinking, conceptualization, and all the way down to playing with it, playing with fire, as it were, till it just becomes fantasy or imagination, or snaps back at you and wish you hadn't played with it in an ignorant way. So take any word and think, what does that word mean? Where does it come? What kind of concept does it come from? What kind of thought does it produce in me? What kind of sound do I identify it with? And what's the meaning in it? It's, in a way, it's much more comprehensive in Vedanta than it is in Tantra. It's really sort of staying to the essence of the process. Like, I don't want to be drawn out by anything. I just want to know how things come together and solidify. And then how, later on, we can worry about how people get attached to them and think that they're real and forget all, where it came from, even where I came from. So it began to conjoin there at the Madhyamaka phase. So this is where worlds will be formed, and beings are in the process of that. They're projecting with these powers, because the bijams are all there, the seeds are all there, and in a disembodied state, even rebellious and restless souls can project. It's obvious, isn't it? Because of what happens here now at the fourth stage. Ignorant souls, evil souls, they get in on the game there, the Madhyama stage. And they have the power of the seeds, and God's not a creator, and nothing's keeping them from projecting what they want to do. They just need parents. See? So they're born in families. So last week I think we mentioned how Sri Ramakrishna said the good mango doesn't fall far from the tree. You see, so if it's a mango near that really good Hayden mango tree that you love so much, you see, then that mango is going to be a good mango, you see. So that he's talking about families. Usually good souls are born with good families. But then he says, even a pea falling in a dung heap, you see, can become a healthy pea plant. So there's some souls who are born in really bad families who are good souls, and vice versa. So it's a kind of crapshoot, to quote one of my friends. It's very chancy and very dicey and very random, and but it will follow the tendency of that soul's desires at this, and those are coming together at this time. High thoughts, yes, you see. I mean, where thoughts are extremely pure, great souls will be involved in that process. Maybe you want to get aboard that ferry that's carrying 5 million people into Kali Yuga. You want to get aboard early. Oh, Avatar's coming to Earth. I'm there. I've got karmas to work out. I'm there. So high thinkers are there, but there's also this whole mixed mind. We haven't even got to it yet. Collective, individual, all the possibilities there, all the risks there, all the attractions, all the enticements, and all rife with the ready ability to make mistakes and errors, trip up, create karmas, suffer later, and forget. Probably the worst of everything is forgetfulness. Don't forget to remember your Divine Mother's name. I can sing the song for you. Durganam Bulana, 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 Bulana. Just don't forget to remember your Divine Mother's name, because the whole shooting match is under her control. She holds the word. And that's the same as Srishti Rahasya, as she's holding Shiva's wisdom. You know, take it, do what you want, leave me out of it. You know, he's saying, oh, thank you, sir. Just look what I can do this time. Where's my Trinity? So I'm procrastinating here, because I wanted to stay here, but you see, I'm getting slower and slower, because now we have to talk about the Vaikari stage. Hopefully we can keep that non-dual knowledge, or knowledge of Divine Mother, memory. It's very important. Smriti, not forgetfulness, asmriti, but smriti, memory of your past lifetimes. Came across it in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. He actually brings it out there. You know, you concentrating on certain individuals, what do you get? Samyama. On certain individuals, you get memory of your past lifetime. Says it right there. Fourth pada. Third pada. He's talking about samyama, how to, even here, get exactly what you want out of life for the highest good of others, because selfishness has been abandoned. It was really never even a part of the process for you. Master and I and our children have not come here to have fun. See? The ride might have been a little fun, but we've come here to sport. Sri Ramakrishna was going to sport in divine awareness. So why he got up every morning and chanted Om, Dirgha Pranava, just Om. Remind himself just with one 3-letter word, and reciting it once, Dirgha Pranava, long recitation, it means, of Om, once, reminds you every day of that this is going on all the time, in an eternal moment. There's your Advaita practice, right there. And remembering it each morning. Or you can take a little more time, dissolve everything back into it at the end of the day. Another Advaita practice. Dissolution of the mind stream. So, as we reach the end of our class, I do have to dip down into Vaikari. They're rudimentary. Maybe I haven't been leaving those out. I've been mentioning them. Para doesn't even have an assignment. Pashanti is transcendent. Madhyama is intermediary, and Vaikari is rudimentary. So that's knowledge made to manifest, and that's the kindest we can be to it. Let's try and look at this not as ignorance and Maya and all that, because that's obvious that a lot of people are falling into that trap. Let's look at it as our own knowledge made manifest, because if what's manifest before us doesn't please us, then it's like, if thine eye offend you, pluck it out. You're the one that projected it. And don't take some false refuge in a creator God or inherently evil devil. You projected it. It's your knowledge. That's an advantage to you. Because if what you see in your life doesn't please you, then change it. It's not too late. I mean, in some ways it's too late, because things have solidified, so oops. Can't dissolve them here unless I'm a chemist, and that's not going to be quite the kind of dissolution that we're looking for here. But I have to do this on the level of what? Concepts, because that's what they are. And they have words, and they have sounds, and they have meaning. I know the words. I hear the sounds, but I don't know the meaning, is the usual problem with that. I don't know the real meaning. The yogi knows the real meaning of everything. Even what the bird's saying. what the couch means, what the sunrise means, and what the sun itself means. Always in cognizance of this, like in an eternal moment. Time's not playing a part there. So that's called Vaikarivak, sharp differentiation. I know we've gone through this chart several times, I don't know, maybe once this year already, but we're coming upon it here as the cause of everything. I think this is probably the best of the 6 charts on Om I have, on the word I have, that explains the process of how, tattva, we saw it in the tattvas, right? Samkhya, 24 cosmic principles. We saw it in Srishti Rahasya, the moving out and the moving in, and the levels that it goes through, causal, subtle to gross, back, reincarnation, getting off of one wheel onto a higher wheel. I mean, we said it in so many ways. You can see it everywhere. And here you get a chance to see it. The lovers of divine reality who are Vedically oriented put forth to you, and purified by the Vedantic or Upanishadic period, and then brought to you in its present form here. So there before you had Shabda or Svota down here, and Dhvani is here, gross sound or speech. And hopefully gross doesn't just mean negative, like little zeros or gossiping or things like that, which the soul shouldn't fall into a habit of, but just means rudimentary out here. The sound as it's come out through the vocal cords with the tongue aiding it, but it still gets traced back to something inside, a brain, better yet a mind with intelligence adhering to the quotient, either lower intelligence or higher intelligence. Like lower would be secular, paravid, aparavid, and then higher would be spiritual or paravid. They make these helpful divisions for us at the Vaikari level, so that beings can live a divine life here and not be impeded by Maya and the ignorance all around. No, I think I'd rather see it as knowledge all around, made manifest, like Holy Mother said. You can see it as ignorance if you want, see. Go ahead. So sharp differentiation, that things have become fragmented. You just have to make sure your mind doesn't become fragmented because of it, because there are plenty of minds like that here. Let's speak of 5 million minds focused on the avatar of the age, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. You've got billions of minds that aren't, and among those billions, millions of souls that are mentally inhibited, mentally challenged even. We can end, because it's time to, in a few minutes, with concepts, thoughts, sound, and meaning. Then down here, forms and objects appear. There's how it happens. They don't just come out of nowhere, or have an origin in a big bang on a physical level alone. Take millions of years to get to even man walking upright, and then many, many more thousands in order to communicate with each other. I mean, who wants to go through that? Right now, you can dissolve it all into yourself in meditation. Or right now, the human being can attain enlightenment. The gods can't do that. They're up here somewhere. They're playing with seeds. But you're realizing the meaning in seeds and using it to get free. So, it might as well connect right back to Para for you, like it did for Sri Ramakrishna. He was at the Vaikari level as a physical body, but he never left the Para stage. And he could, even if he was at the Pashanti stage, he could meld his mind back into Para. from savichara, savikalpa to nirvikalpa, and back again. From the nitya to the lila, he used to say. So it wasn't nitya to the lila to the maya. He never said maya. For him it was from the eternal, the infinite, to the play of the infinite, then back to the infinite again. He didn't say, well, I think I'll go to maya now from the lila. It wasn't in him. He wouldn't do that. So it was all upper fourth chakra for him. Heart being the play of things. Play with the devotees who had some wherewithal to remember, respect, and even revere him. The last two chants, and we have slokas here, one from the Agamas. The mother word is the essence of Brahman as akshara, the imperishable. The Tantras call her Paravak. The Vedika scriptures designate her as Shabda Brahman. So the supreme word Paravak, or Brahman as sound, the sound Brahman, Shabda Brahman. So both the Vedas and the Tantras have this deep love affair with the word. And probably a non-dual truth affair with them too. I mean, that's where you're following the path of bhakti and the path of jnanam, then you get to prema bhakti and brahma gyan, as Sri Ramakrishna said. Mother gives prema bhakti to some few rare souls, and she gives atma gyan, brahma gyan to others. But to some souls, she gives them both. And he said, that's like you looking into the sky and seeing the sun, and then later that day, at the evening, seeing the moon. But one day you see sun and moon in the same sky. The day hasn't passed yet, and its light hasn't dwindled, and the sun is still setting, and the moon is, as it were, is coming up. The moon is there too, so you see them both in the same sky. That's someone who has both ecstatic love for God and this knowledge, this wisdom, this truth. What's beyond that? I can give it to you. If you'll hear it, I can give it to you. I can give it to 5 million of you. So in the Tantra, the Svachanda Tantra specifically, it says, and this is very much the characteristic, if there is one for the word, like I said, unstruck. No one sounds the word voluntarily, nor can anyone prevent it from sounding. The deity presiding in the hearts of all sounds it spontaneously. Antaryami, the inner ruler, immortal, seated in the heart. It's sounding it always, like Ishvara, that pillar of light. It's got the word in it, around it, on all sides of it. Like the all-pervasive prana, only on a much higher level. Any questions? If there are, please write them into me. It's a very abstruse subject, but it's also very attracting and very marvelous as a teaching. So, and with it, we are able to, as far as my study of the Upanishads goes, and what I found mentioned most often in them, as a doorway out of formlessness or non-duality or Advaita into what we call cosmic consciousness. We're not using that in the old 60s and 70s style of the word. We're using it in the sense of God's mind, on out. This is beyond inward and outward, to the inward, to the halfway between inward and outward, to the fully outward. So it's like waking, dreaming, deep sleeping, turiya, or turn that on its back. It's like turiya, deep sleep, dreaming, and then waking. And that can happen every 24 hours. And does happen to billions of people. But the yogi witnesses the whole process, always and ever, and the others are drug into it. They are drug from birth to death and death to birth, as Vivekananda says, thinking them to be real. So here I think we have probably reached the perfect place to end our 4-series class. Remember, next week we'll, Saturday and Sunday, have a 45-minute class, nice little short class for everyone who likes short classes, on the Advaita and his 24 teachers in nature, teachers like the sun, or teachers like the arrow maker, or teachers like the moth, the deer, right there in nature, suggesting everything that is a manifestation of that highest truth of Omkara. Everything's caused by the word. So, to finish then, I had to take it in a different, Jesus is saying to John in a different level. In the beginning was the Word is with God, and the Word was God. So I had to put, and the Word was God at para. That's no division between them, God and His Word. In the beginning was the Word, is this potential for things to come into being. And the Word was with God, was when everything started to break into potential. Sorry, don't have an assignment there. You just have to deal with it. Hope you deal with it from the standpoint of the highest Dharma. Om Tat Nayo Ravrimahe Gatum Yagyaya Gatum Yena Pate Daivi Swastrastu Naha Urdvam Jagatu Bisajam Sangno Astu Dvipate Sangchajushpate Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. May we make a great offering of the small self into the great self. May we always delight in this offering. May we always revere the Lord and Mother of all sacrifices. May divine blessings be upon us. May peace be into the entire human race. May healing, well-being, and prosperity then also abide among us. Om peace, peace, peace. May peace be unto us. May peace be unto all. Om Hari Om Hari Om Hari Om Tat Sat.